Doing roll call, all aldermen and women are present. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, but one. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one adjustment to the agenda this evening. We're asking to table 8A, postpone and table 8A4. We're going to postpone that for May 17th. That is the consideration and possible action on application of the overlay plan development on Maritime Drive. And the reason is we had a miscommunication with the applicant and they're unable to attend. So we're going to be fair and move that to the 17th. Is there any concern of that? Okay. Otherwise, I'd be looking then for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll take the second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns? All right. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mayor's updates. I've got a few things in there tonight, so I appreciate your grace. First thing is had a great coffee at the senior center yesterday, and very highly engaged members of our community yesterday with a lot of great questions. I've been doing kind of a 1-year report since becoming mayor and looking to bring that to council here at the beginning of June and making sure that you can see those pieces. Otherwise, I'd invite you to do that. Really good feedback from our seniors on development and feedback on TIFs and access to services. And as you know, in our strategic plan, we identified that one of the things we really wanted to focus on was services and opportunities and access for our seniors. So discussed with them the idea of looking towards the future of what we offer for our seniors in the city. It is our fastest growing population or newest population. We want to make sure that we honor them. I also wanted to thank, if you did not get a chance to see the Port Washington Adult Community Senior Center Annual Report, there's some pretty neat information and data in there. And coming out of the pandemic, I think our team is doing a really, really good job making sure that we can do that. The next thing I wanted to make sure that the community knew was Fish Day. So I want to thank Chief Ingus, Chief Mitchell, Park and Street Department, as well as Tony Brown. This year, the Fish Day parade and celebration will continue. However, one of the things we wanted to make sure to communicate out now to the community was that the parade route will be changing. The parade route will be shortened and basically start at the top of St. Mary's Hill. Staging will be up there, and then it will head down as it traditionally has through the downtown, and then heading west out of town, but not completely out of town. The reason is that the police department, fire department, and city, to ensure safety and the ability to secure each of the cross-sectional streets, north and south, east and west, worked with the Fish Day organization. What are they? They're a nonprofit. Well, whatever. We worked with Fish Day. We worked with Fish Day to ensure that, and basically I was really proud of it. I'm really excited about it, and I think it's fantastic that we will, continue Fish Day. They're doing some things different, and for those of us who've been going to Fish Day since we were born, every year it's a little bit different, and I just want to make sure the community recognizes that. So for the homeowners who live on Wisconsin Street north of St. Mary's, if you purchased your property so that you could always watch Fish Day, just get your chairs on the hill early this year, because we can't secure that, and we probably and very unlikely will ever go back to the longer parade route. So again, thanks to the police, fire department, and city for ensuring that, and there will be a press release going out in the next day or two. The other piece is May 13th. I want to invite the community. There will be a bagpipe and a peace officer ceremony at Coldock Park, hosted by our police department, that will kick off right away at 11:55 p.m. and go into midnight. Chief, did I get all that right?
I'm sorry.
Taking notes? Yeah, I think I got it all right. May 13th, 11:55 p.m., Coldock Park, peace officer ceremony, bagpiper.
And actually, according to the bagpiper, the main one that runs it, he said that last year Port Washington had the most support
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And again, we're grateful that you hosted as one of the communities in southeastern Wisconsin. So please join us that night if you can.
What time it is? What time that is?
So I would get there at 11:45, midnight. That's past bedtime. Yeah. Well, and then the other thing is the next day, or if anyone from council wants to join me, you're always welcome. We'll be presenting a proclamation to the second shift police officers. I'm committed to one shift per year for the proclamation for peace officers, recognize what our police department does here in Port Washington. Okay. And then with that, I've got a couple of proclamations here, but I did want to just share another quick story. Last weekend, and I had said at the last council meeting, Allen Edmonds celebrated their 100th birthday. And it was a very interesting afternoon because I didn't know this, but there is a Facebook group of Allen Edmonds enthusiasts. And they are men and women from across the United States and the world who love the shoes that are made in Port Washington by our craftsmen and women. And they found out about 4 or 5 months ago that April 23rd was the founding of Allen Edmonds Shoes in 1922 in Belgium. And they learned that the year prior, it was a shoe company called the Belgium Shoe Company, but it was bought out by an Allen at the time because he wanted to work with strong craftsmen and women who had come from Luxembourg as shoemakers. And that's how the company was founded. These enthusiasts came from places like San Diego, Dallas, Miami, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Boston, New York, Chicago, Denver, Omaha. It was the entire country. 100-some enthusiasts came. Now, I never knew that men or women could love a brand like that outside of like a motorcycle or a Corvette, right? But these are people who collect, look forward to, and purchase a tremendous amount of shoes. The reason I wanted to tell you this was we adopted a strategic plan. And in our strategic plan, one of our core values that was adopted was friendly. And when I went up to give them this proclamation that I'll share with you in a minute, I heard over and over and over again, this place is like a Hallmark movie. Everybody's nice. I was walking into this store. I would just walk around your hardware store. People asked me how I was doing. And I was really impressed by that. But what impressed me was I live here, so I forget that. Right? And we have sometimes in our own community, we've got some conversations and dispositions. And at the end of the day, outside looking in, we do live in a remarkable place. We take advantage of a lake that's staring back at us every day that these men and women from around the country just were really impressed with. And what really blew me away was that they had come to Port Washington and not really known that there was a downtown. Because they pointed out, we do a horrible job for strangers to identify that there's actually a city on the lake. So if you have never been here and you took an airplane, you landed at Mitchell, and then you Ubered up to the north side of town, you stayed in the hotel on the north side of town, and you asked the hotel people where we should eat, they say, well, you should eat here or at Full Circle right across the highway. And it's no fault of the hotels, right? It's convenient. So I did something impulsive, which I've been known to do, which was invite them all for a beer on the city, which you didn't pay for, the Knightsky Trust Fund did, and brought them downtown. And they're all coming back. And the reason is because when they were trying to find parking spots, people were like, oh, park over there, and then you can walk over here. And they walked in, et cetera. So I just want to thank Allen Edmonds for involving us because it was kind of late in the game. And then most importantly, just make sure our community recognizes that like people from outside the world really admire what our citizens make. They really admire our community and then what we do. And our value of being friendly is not aspirational, it's actual. So it was very cool. And I also learned, and I apologize for this trivial pursuit knowledge for you, Allen Edmonds has made 650 different styles of shoes in the last 100 years. And I met a man who owns 452 of those styles. And I just times that by $200 and I thought to myself, that's a Lamborghini. So it was very, very cool day. And again, as always, support local and try to purchase that. So I'm not going to read the whole proclamation, but I'll pass it on. We'll put it online. But the part that I was impressed with that I learned up there, again, as a history guy, is this whereas, which is Allen shoes have been worn on the battlefields during World War II, presented to a pope, worn by presidents. When Polo was the official supplier of the Olympians in the Summer Olympics, all of the Summer Olympians wore Allen shoes. Countless movie stars, silver screen appearances, and all made by men and women who are from our region. So I thought that's very, very, very cool. So I can pass that around to all of you guys and girls. The other piece is, if the community doesn't know, this week is Teachers Appreciation Week. Next week is Nurses Appreciation Week. And I just would ask that our citizens take the time to ensure that they thank educators. Last year at this time and the year prior during the pandemic, there was a tremendous amount of gratitude, and our public and private schools have come under great scrutiny this past year, unfairly to the people who work within those buildings. And I would just ask that we make sure that we recognize that we send our greatest resource into our public and private schools every single day, and that we reach out to all of the different educators and staff and administrators and thank them. So I'm going to send up this proclamation to all of the schools in town. And then the last one is also this, which is, it is Municipal Clerks Week, and talk about another group who has been under unfair scrutiny. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Clerk Westerbeek for her dedication and effort. I believe that Port Washington has an election process, and multiple members up here are also volunteers and observers that is beyond scrutiny, and it's because of your integrity, Susan. So we're very, very grateful for that, and we have a proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week as well. And we're going into that hot time where there will be 4 or 5 proclamations for the next 2 or 3 council meetings: nurses, police, fire, EMT. So thank you for that. Any questions about the proclamations? Allen Edmonds Senior Citizen Center. All right. Then the last one is approval of appointments for city boards, committees, and commissions. And I have another appointment that I brought forward to you, Aaron Brewer, who is going to be, I hope, appointed to the Park and Recreation Board. Grew up in Port Washington, participated in the Park and Recreation programs, went to school in Port Washington, has 2 young children, and is going to bring some energy and ideas to the Park and Rec Board. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve her appointment.
So moved.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent, thank you. All right, moving into officers and staff reports, please make sure that you had looked at those. Just so the staff knows, I've gotten very positive feedback at Piggly Wiggly and Bernie's Fine Meats when people are on Facebook and reading those different reports, and our ability to proactively keep the community going. And another core value of ours that we adopted was communication and proactivity, so I am grateful for that. Any questions from council on any of those reports? Mr. Benning?
Yeah, and this is probably for Rob. So Heart of the Harbor project, you did that design in-house here yourself?
Yeah, we did the engineering. The architectural design was done by Amanda Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did, and Ross did all the survey and staking.
And then I know the city crew did a lot of the construction, things like that, so,
I just made sure it drained.
yeah. I mean, that thing turned out spectacular, and we're seeing some of the recognition and awards and things like that, so I just want to say thank you to you and your teams, and if you'd pass that along, I appreciate it.
Thanks. I will. Yeah. Very proud of the award. Main Street's a great organization. I'm glad we're part of it.
That's actually a good idea, Mr. Benning. If I can, we should have Christina and come in and do an official recognition of the recognizing what we just recognized.
Yes.
So excellent.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll do that. And that's just another reminder. We are launching the Arts Task Force begins in 2 weeks, and they'll be identifying other opportunities for us to provide more sculptures in and around the city, as well as murals, et cetera. Mr. Sigwart, did you have one as well?
Yeah, I just would like to know the number of people, Rob, that actually had hands-on on the site. You know them all, so just tell me how many there are when you know it.
Yeah, it's dozens. Yes. And many people making donations too. So just tons of generosity all the way around. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Thanks. I'll get that number for you.
I guess if I may add, Yeah, I can. I was really proud when people were sitting down at Dockside Deli watching City of Port Washington crew workers as craftsmen, do what they can do. And I don't, so many people make flash judgments when they pass a utility truck and two guys standing around a hole, and what they don't recognize is we're either waiting for a part or who's going to go in the hole or whatever it is. And at that point, I think the City of Port Washington looked fantastic when you have, Gerard and all those different JD and all those guys down there doing their stuff. So please make sure they recognize that we recognize how awesome your team is.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions, Dan?
Yeah, and then for Mr. Harris, you just want to mention the 18th and tell him 10 times 10 different ways my philosophy.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Alderman Benning. We will, on Wednesday, May 18th, we will have the first community workshop for the downtown and lakefront plan. It will be at the Grand Avenue United Methodist Church Fellowship Hall. It'll be an open house format from 5:30 to 7:30, and there'll be just a number of stations positioned, and it'll be manned by a volunteer, and each station will represent some type of issue that we've heard so far as part of the downtown planning process. And this is community workshop number 1 of 2, and out of that will come start shaping the draft recommendations and reports. So Wednesday, May 18th, Grand Avenue Methodist Church, 5:30.
Bob, where is it and what time is it at? I heard Alderman Benning say 10 times. All right, excellent. We'll make sure to get that on our Facebook as well. Awesome. So let's all share it and see how many hits we can get. Hey, rookie, it's your job. Okay. Any other questions? All right, then we'll move into public comments and appearances. Please remember you are welcome to make comments. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes, and if you need more time than that, please make sure to contact us in advance. Any public comments at this time? Any public comments at this time? Any public comments? Seeing none, let's move into item number 7 from Finance and Licensure. Consideration and possible action on allocating unassigned fund balance for the purchase of an outreach library vehicle. Thank you. Is Tom up?
Yeah.
Tom, you're up. Thank you for fixing the microphones, Alderman Benning.
Good evening, everyone. Looking for the council to approve, basically giving the library some money and then you're getting it all back. The library received a grant for $27,400 from Wisconsin DPI, with Department of Instruction, sorry. This is part of the ARPA funds that were given to Department of Instruction from the governor's office. And we actually got the grant, which I'm still kind of in shock that we got it, because very few libraries were able to receive this money. So we are purchasing an outreach van, which is going to be very useful in meeting some goals and going out into the community more, and it gives us access to bring the library to people who are unable to come into the library. We want to be at the parks. We want to go to senior centers, daycares. And I will tell you, it has been quite the challenge to find a van. So if you're looking to find a van, be prepared to be shocked by prices. But anyways, the rest of the coverage of the money is from donations to the library. And that money will be used to do some really cool graphics on the van and to get a ramp. So all the money that you're borrowing, we're giving it back to you, and it's all donation and grant money. There is not any taxpayers' money, so we are very fortunate to be able to receive this money.
Yep. And I think the recommendation on the finance was to approve it. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve that action item.
Is a motion? Is there a second? Alderman Tierney, did you have a question, or was that your second?
I was going to second it.
We'll give you the second. You were hot hand there. Yeah, we're all excited. Any questions or concerns about the motion? Right. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. Tom, I'm just wondering if that great song that we all heard as kids on PBS, that libraries more than a book, is that what you're going to play as the van drives around to attract kids to it?
It's total 6,000 miles on it. So I'm sure you talked about it.
We are looking for something unique to put on top of the van. You know, like in a lot of movies, you've seen like a chicken or something. So when it's supposed to be fun. So when we're going through town, people know, hey, that's the library. So we have.
I immediately went to the Blues Brothers and that giant megaphone.
Right.
We're from the library. We're on a mission.
I have looked at some fish.
Yeah,
So
that would actually be pretty fun.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's not digress anymore. Yeah. Just so you know, when I do that in my head, I hear, Ted, you're the mayor, you're the mayor, you're the mayor. All right, from city planning boards and commissions, we are now going to open a public hearing to consider, where'd I put that sheet? To consider a proposed emergency homeless shelter as a conditional use at 1505 Sunset Road. So notice is hereby given that this is a public hearing tonight, 6:30 here at City Hall, that the subject of the hearing is to consider a proposed emergency homeless shelter as a conditional use at 1505. Interested persons may review the map proposed plan and arrive tonight. So I'm going to open this hearing for the proposed plan. Are there any speakers in favor? Are any speakers in favor? Are any speakers in favor? Any speakers against? Any speakers against? Any speakers against? All right. That hearing is closed. That moves us into agenda item 8A2, consideration and possible action on a land covenant relating to conditional use for proposed emergency shelter. The council is being asked to approve the land covenant as part of a conditional use grant request by Family Promise, and the staff recommendation is to approve the land grant. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a Family Promise of Ozaki County. They have, in partnership with Ozaki County, have acquired grant funds to develop a facility in which to provide temporary emergency shelter to persons in Ozaki County who find themselves in a position of being homeless. I can put the slides up. Thank you. Family Promise in Ozaki County, they've identified the building at 1505 Sunset Road, as shown up on the screen. For the facility, it's proposed to contain 8 rooms and serve a maximum of 20 adults and children at any one time. And just as referenced, there's the location of the proposed facility. The proposed site plan. The project involves remodeling the existing 4,700 square foot, what was most recently a child care center, and adding an additional approximately 2,500 square foot addition to the facility. Here is just a view how it is currently. And this is the proposed view that we saw at Plan Commission during its approval process. I'll leave it up there. And the facility will, as I noted, 20 individuals. It will be 24 hours, 7 days a week daily. And then Family Promise, there's a number of security protocols in place. They've been working with the Port Washington Police Department on an agreed upon facility plan. And as noted, the Plan Commission at its April, May, March meeting unanimously recommended approval of the conditional use grant, and those conditions of approval are noted in the conditional use grant.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Did you want to keep going? The next drawing?
Nope, we're done. I'm
Okay.
done with my
Any
slide.
questions for Mr. Harris? Alderwoman Postle?
In the conditional use grant, item number G, an unusually high number of frequency of law enforcement calls to the premises. Can you define a high number? What, is that more than 2? What?
Yeah, during our meetings with both Family Promise and the police department, I think, that caught, the attention. And I think, I don't know, if I can refer to Chief Hingus. I don't think there was eventually a unique number or a certain number of calls that triggered anything. I think it was just an understanding that this is something to keep track of. If you know, I think that was my understanding of it.
Yeah, I think the agreement was that you would know when there was a high number of calls. It would be kind of staring you in the face that there's a problem here. Because we don't, I guess what we don't want either is that the shelter is afraid to call us for things because they don't want certain numbers adding up.
Sure.
We don't want that.
Awesome. All right.
I would move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Pleitner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Benning. Any questions or concerns about the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Excellent. So with that, then I think Family Promise would like to invite us to the groundbreaking on May 20th at 3:30. And we would just ask the aldermen and women to bring their own shovels. No, I'm just kidding. And hard hats. No, they'll provide everything for us.
Sending out an invitation to everybody still.
Excellent.
Keep an eye out for that. Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
As a representative of the board.
You need to step to the microphone. We have another action item before you get too excited, but I don't think you're going to have a problem.
That's okay. I just want to say, as a member of the board, I really want to thank this council. You and your staff have been wonderful to work with, and we are deeply appreciative of your support for this program. We look forward to working with you and with your police chief.
Excellent. All right, that moves us on to the next piece, which is consideration possible action on land covenant relating to the conditional use grant for proposed emergency homeless shelter at 1505 Sunset Road, Family Promise of Ozaukee County Incorporated. The applicant staff recommendation is to approve that conditional grant.
And as noted in my report, this is a standard companion piece to the conditional use grant, and it's simply an instrument of which the applicants adhere or will abide by the conditions of the grant, and it's recorded with the conditional use grant document when approved.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions or concerns for Mr. Harris? All right, I'll be looking for a motion then.
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Benning. Is there a second? Second. Seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. You guys are good to go. Thank you very much. The next agenda item is being moved to May 17th, so that brings us to B, Board of Public Works, Ordinance 2022-4, an ordinance requiring replacement of lead service laterals. This is the second reading. The staff recommendation is to approve this. Mr. Vanden Noven.
Okay, as the mayor indicated, this is the second reading. We had our first reading at the last council meeting. This is essentially part of a proactive approach to replacing lead laterals, protecting public health, and essentially obtaining funds to do so. This, by passing this ordinance, it positions us to achieve essentially a higher point total when we are applying for funds to pay for the cost of replacing private lead service laterals. And I doubt that we're going to need the ordinance in order to enforce force lead replacement on our customers, but it is one tool that we would have, and again, probably I would surmise that the greatest benefit to the city is, again, it makes us more competitive when we're going for future grants.
Excellent.
If there's any questions.
I did have one question, Rob. Was there any conversation or outreach to the county about supporting further with their ARPA funds?
I'm sorry, I haven't. I will.
Okay.
I'll
All right.
make sure I do that.
If you wouldn't mind, that would be excellent. Thank you. Alderman Sigwart, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did question, Rob. There's two areas in the ordinance that refer to a 45-day period. Did that come from what you're expecting the final rule to be? Because when you think about it, this is a mandatory connection, but only if money's available to pay for it, which sort of makes it not mandatory. so that there's a 45-minute period, or 45-day period of which the applicant or whoever it is, beneficiary, must respond. Why, just curious, why 45 days?
You know, I'd have to go back and see, and I'm sorry if that was the part of, essentially, we borrowed language from other ordinances that have been passed.
For lead services?
Right, yes, yeah. So this is essentially, I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's a model ordinance, but one that's been passed in other communities. And, you know, when we get the lead service lateral funding, they want the funds to be spent within 1 year, so time is kind of the essence
Sure.
to make
No, I
sure that these things are expedited.
Any other questions? Mr. Newmeyer?
Rob, for homes, for instance, like mine that's over 100 years old, are we going to reach out to the older homes in the community to survey them or send possibly our water personnel in to make sure or see if they have lead laterals?
Yeah, so we've identified because, and I think your street is one of the streets that we included from recent projects where we did identify previously on those projects. We've replaced it. We've replaced the old cast iron mains, and we have plastic piping going up to the property line. So we've identified 69 homes, I believe, on your street on Harris and Dodge, kind of in that neighborhood where we have older construction that we're going to reach out to first. So yeah, so we do have a prioritized list of where we've already been. So because we're not going to reach out to people for replacement where we still have lead lines out in the streets. We have to wait until we actually get there with our water main and service replacement projects. So we're targeting, of course, the ones that we've done in recent years, which would include Milwaukee Street.
Thank you.
All right, otherwise I'd be looking for a motion.
I'd also move.
Moved by Alderman Sigwart,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Gasper. Any questions or concerns about the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. We have no unfinished business, so we're going to move into new business. Ordinance 22.5, an ordinance restricting parking in certain portions of municipal lot M6. This is the second reading. Rob, or Tony, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a follow-up item from the parking, construction, and drainage easement agreement that the city made. And I think it was late 2022 with 324 Lake Street, which is essentially Ansay Development Corporation. And what this does is it restricts the parking in stalls 57 through 87 in the M6 lot. And it's for the exclusive right to use of the current tenants of the city marina from, I believe it's April 1st through October 31st annually from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So by approving this ordinance, it allows us to codify that language to then put up the street signs necessary to enforce those parking restrictions. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Otherwise, the recommendation is to approve the ordinance. Alderwoman Pleitner, or Postel?
I move to approve.
Yeah, it's okay. Is there a second? I'll second it. All right. Is there any questions or concerns about the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Ordinance 2022-6, an ordinance creating Ward 8, Aldermanic District 8, with polling locations at Grand Avenue United Methodist Church. This is the first reading. The staff recommendation is that the city clerk is recommending the creation of Ward 8 in the 4th Aldermanic District and for municipal code to be amended to reflect the ward creation, district assignment, boundaries, and assignment of polling location to be in compliance with Wisconsin state statute. Clerk Westerbeek.
Well, as part of the summary, as you all know, we annexed property from the town of Grafton late last year. It's the Newman Development property, formerly the Kenneth Dahmer property. And at that time, we knew that there might be eventual development, which would mean more residential area and population for voting purposes. At that time, we crossed a district line for county supervisory district, which brought in a county supervisory district we had not had previously. This does occur with communities that do a lot of annexation. That's actually bound to happen at some point. So to address that, because it is a new supervisory district for us with the county, we're required by state law to create a ward for that district. And this is part of that. And it will need to be obviously assigned to a current alderperson. So that being that property is abutting the Ward 4 district, that's being assigned to that. So we will have a Ward 4/8 district that will be combined as one reporting unit. And the individuals at some point down the road, if they live in that area, will vote at Grand Avenue United Methodist Church. Do you have any other questions come to mind I could answer?
The only question I had, Susan, and it's really more for us in the community, is as the city, we've got multiple annexations taking place to the north and south, and as those develop, how often will we be looking at new wards, or what's kind of the benchmark for, when we hit this population or this density? Can you explain that to the community for me, please?
That's a very good question. So there is a criteria when you get to a certain number, they suggest that new wards are created, or wards, it wouldn't be exactly splitting, but you would be creating new wards to be able to accommodate the population growth. So you may see in the future that with the growth in the city on the north, the west, and the south, that as our wards grow in population, we get to a 2,000 or 2,100 count in a ward, that we will have to add an additional ward to accommodate that. And ideally, that is done during redistricting. We weren't quite at that point in this past redistricting that we had done. However, if the growth continues, it is possible we may have to address that before the next redistricting, and we'll take that case by case should that occur. With annexations, that may occur again as well if there's more property annexed at some point. And that adds other supervisory districts to our current status, then it will be required we create wards for that as well. There are other communities, obviously, that have done this. Village of Grafton has numerous wards, a large number of wards, actually, because of growth over the years. They've had to add wards to their current aldermanic districts, or in their, actually, it's a village, so it would be trustees. Okay, so.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
An informed democracy is awesome, so I appreciate that. Okay, so with that, this is the first reading, correct? So there is no action. All right. Any further questions for Susan? All right, thank you for your work and diligence on that. Any public comments or appearances before we move into the next pieces? I have three things in real quick. One is I failed to thank Main Street and Channel 58, the reporter Nicole, for coming and highlighting the city last week. That was pretty cool. And that really helped out a lot of local businesses that were highlighted. They actually had increased traffic the next day. So it's grateful when anyone can do that. Second thing is just a reminder to council that on May 16th, we have our joint meeting at Port Washington High School at 5 o'clock with the Port Washington Saukville School Board, at which time we will be engaged in their strategic planning process, where they're going to ask us to provide input, and we'll hear from our city administrator and the superintendent as to any work that has been done over the course of the year with what they collected from us. Then the last thing is, council, I have asked the city administrator Brown to set aside time this summer at one of our scheduled council meetings to sit down and start to talk about us, at the beginning of the strategic planning process, to ensure that, kind of we have clean lines of sights of our roles and the commissions and committees, and their goal setting and all those different components, have conversations of what we'd expect from ourselves, kind of like a board retreat if we could do something, but it'll be us sitting around in a square and facilitating, like, what is the role of personnel and what's the role of finance and what's the role, not just by ordinance, but through aspiration as well, and make sure we're all on the same page and we're doing those different things. And then the last thing is, because Chief is here, this weekend is Port Washington's junior prom. And Chief, I'd like you to please make sure the SRO knows that if Grace Knightsky, my daughter, is dancing with any boys, that he can use all needable force to stop the music. Okay, so with that, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. This meeting is adjourned. Go Pirates.